What's up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Pazi D with the Pazi Group Real Estate Advisors, and thank you for checking out the video. Look, I'm sure you've probably heard lots of things about what's going on in the Atlanta real estate market, and we're going to talk about it today. That way you can be better informed and you can make some sound decisions and win in the real estate market. Let's go. So look, I know you've probably heard a lot of things out there. Is it a seller's market? Is it a buyer's market? What does that mean for us? You hear about people paying, $10, $20, $30, $50,000 over asking price on properties. And why? Why are they doing that? Why do they feel the need to do that? What does that mean? So we're gonna just dive into some of these things and just get a little bit more understanding about what's happening in the market today. So first things first, when we talk about a market, right? We talk about whether it's a seller's market or a buyer's market. What does that ultimately mean? It's very, very simple. What it means is the amount of inventory, amount of houses that we have available for buyers to buy out there in the market. And then how does that relate to the amount of people that are out there wanting to buy houses? So if we were to sell out all of the months of inventory that we have, all of the houses that we have on the market right now, and no new homes were listed, how long would it take for us to sell everything that's existing? So if we have about 6 months, then that's considered a balanced market. If we have more than 6 months of inventory, then that's called a buyer's market. And really what it means is the buyers have a lot more houses to choose from. They can be a little bit more picky. They can maybe haggle a little bit, negotiate a little bit with their pricing. When it comes to a seller's market, which is what we're in right now, that is when we have less than 6 months of inventory. So when you have less than 6 months of inventory, again, meaning all of the houses that are on the market right now, we sold them all. How long would it take for them all to sell if nobody was putting new houses on the market? And right now where we sit is less than a month. So we've been in the seller's market for some time. That's not a new thing for us. We've been in the seller's market since maybe like 2014, 2015, something like that. But it hasn't been this extreme. We're down to less than 1 month of inventory. So we're gonna dig into that and what that means and how you can kind of move and shake with that information. But ultimately, we are in a seller's market. So we need to act accordingly. What does act accordingly mean? All right, so if you're a seller, then that means you have a little bit more flexibility, right? To get it right, to accomplish a sale. If you're a buyer, that means you need to be extremely strategic with the moves that you make, with the offer that you make, how you're going about getting a hold of your properties. So let's dive into the numbers so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. All right, so when we talk about this seller's market that we're in, and I told you that we're sitting at about 9 or not even 9, 0.9 months of inventory. So less than a month of inventory. When we compare that back to like 2009, back when the market had collapsed and everything was different, we see that we had over 31,000 homes for sale on the market. Quite a bit different than what we have right now, where we're sitting at 4,500 houses that are on the market. So quite a bit of a difference between where we were and where we're at now. What that really means is that we just have fewer choices for buyers to make. So that means when a house comes on the market, you gotta be ready to make the move. And it doesn't just mean ready to submit an offer. It means you need to be truly ready. Your financing is in order. Maybe you've gone through upfront underwriting. If you don't know what that means, send me a message. Maybe that means that we need to be a little bit more aggressive in the way that we offer, the price, the terms, those sorts of things. So, it just means we have fewer options and we need to act accordingly. Another thing that comes along with this seller's market is the fact that we don't have a lot of distressed sales. There was a period of time where, I'll be honest, I haven't really gotten the question or the comment lately, but there was a period of time, maybe 2-3 years ago, where I could expect it. I could count on my clients bringing up to me that their aunt or their uncle or whoever had bought a house at, a much lower price, or, that they got a deal on their property. It needed a little bit of work or whatever, but that's just not where we're at right now. Back then, 40% of the houses that were on the market were considered distressed sales, meaning either they were a short sale or a foreclosure, or there was something going on with that property where it wasn't a traditional sale. Nowadays, it's like 0.3%, not even 1%. So 40% to less than 1% of the houses being on the market in a distressed state. So what that really says is you're not able to get some of the negotiation that you were able to get years ago when you had a ton of houses on the market and a bunch of them, almost half of them, were distressed in some way, shape, or form. So you gotta, again, act accordingly. All right, so when we take a look at the houses that have sold, back in 2009, only like less than 1,900 houses sold. Whereas this year, we had over 5,000 houses sold. So there's a lot less inventory. There's a lot less houses out there, but they're still selling like crazy. So whereas back in 2009, we just didn't have that many sales, but we had lots of houses available. Now we have a lot more sales and we have a very, very small amount of houses that are actually available. So it just means it's a much more active market than we had back then. Next thing we look at is the median sales price. So back in 2009, when we had lots of houses available, the houses were selling a lot cheaper, primarily because you had so many choices, so many options that you could negotiate a little bit. The median sales price back then, $143,000. The median sales price now, $400,000. So the price has almost tripled in 12 years. So what that really means is there's a higher price point that you're gonna have to pay for your house. No matter how you slice it, no matter how you look at it, the selling prices are higher. Next, we'll take a look at the median days on market. Median days on market is important to me because that lets you know about how long properties are staying on the market, whether that's a week, whether that's a month, whatever it is. It just gives you a little bit more information, a little bit more data so that you can submit an offer that will win. Back then, property sat on the market for 145 days versus now 8 days. It's pretty intense, this stark difference in contrast between the amount of time. You would be on the market back then for what's that, like 5 months versus now you're on the market for about a week. So if your house hasn't sold in about a week, it hasn't gotten offers in about a week, there's a problem. And with this data, we can tell that. We know rather than, we'll just let it sit for another couple more weeks and see what happens. Maybe a buyer will come along. No. We don't want to operate like that. We want to use the information to be able to make our adjustments to how we list, market, and ultimately sell our properties. Next, we'll take a look at the median sale price to original list price. All right, so the median sale price to original list price back in 2009 was 80%. Now it's 101.4%. What does that mean? All that's really saying is back then you could expect to sell a property for about 80% of the list price. So if you put a house on the market for $100,000, just the easy math, you'd sell it somewhere around $80,000. Whereas now you put that same $100,000 property on the market and you can expect to sell it for $101,000. So what that really means is that you don't have as much negotiation, going on. When you put a property on the market, or let's flip it, when you're a buyer and you're looking at a property that's on the market, you can expect to pay the list price. The reality is, if it's a nice property, you can expect to pay quite a bit more than the list price, but we'll get into that in a separate video. All right, next, let's take a look at the price reductions that took place. Back in 2009, we saw about 75% of the properties that were put on the market had to have a price reduction in order for that property to sell. Nowadays, we're seeing about 13%, right? 13% of the properties that hit the market have to have a price reduction in order to get that property sold. That's a big difference. So just expect whenever you go see a property that the price is the price. We're not seeing as many of those price reductions. Just put that into perspective. Back then, back in 2009, for every 10 houses that were on the market, 7 or 8 of those houses were gonna have a price reduction. That price reduction may be $5,000, $1,000, it might be $20,000. Whereas today, for every 10 properties that are put on the market, 1 of those houses are gonna have a price reduction. So the other 9, they priced it right and it's probably gonna sell. And based on the previous slide that we talked about, or based on the previous stat, that we talked about is probably going to sell in a matter of a week. So you got to get on it pretty quickly. All right, next we're going to talk about failed listings. Failed listings are super important because, people act like it doesn't happen. We act like just because you put a house on the market, it's going to sell, and that doesn't always happen. Now, your likelihood of selling in this market is a lot greater than it's been truly in any other market we've experienced. But it doesn't make it a guarantee. So you gotta still do the right thing. You still gotta price your properties effectively. You still gotta market your properties effectively to avoid being in this failed listing category or status. Back in 2009, 75% of the houses failed to sell. In 2021, 11 or 12%, 11.7% of the houses failed to sell. I mean, that's still a big deal if you're one of those, 11 or 12% and your house didn't sell. We got to get in there and figure out what's causing it not to sell. But again, your likelihood, your chances of getting a sale are higher than they've ever been. So that makes now an amazing time to sell. I really hope this information has been helpful to you. If you got any questions whatsoever about this or any other real estate topic, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can shoot me an email. You can reach me at pazirealestate.com. You can give us a call. You can find us on our socials. But in the meantime, God bless you. We love you. If there's anything we can do for you, it will be our pleasure. Take care, and we'll talk soon.